Hello, this is TelecomTV. I'm Martin Warwick and I'm talking with Micaela Guihat, who is VP Product Marketing SBC, Session Border Controller with Metaswitch Networks. Micaela, good to see you. Thanks for talking to us. Bit more of a sort of techie approach this time in this particular interview, because we've talked about the economic case for NFV and so on and so forth to other people. But I'd like to ask you this. How do you think networks that are virtualizing their infrastructure are going to continue to interconnect? It's still massively important during this change.
Martin, thank you very much for having me, and I do believe that interconnect is going to be a huge deal for all the carriers because the whole interconnect market is going through massive changes as well. So the question is how the network virtualization aspect is going to contribute to the changing environment of the interconnects. And I do believe that NFV is going to play a major role into that.
Okay, well the logical next question and step from that is, what are the biggest challenges then as far as carrier interconnect is concerned?
There are quite a few challenges in the interconnect, and depends on what type of carrier you are. So you have the tier 1 carriers who do the peering. And the peering, it's doing well, but the pricing, obviously, it's going down. So although the traffic is going up, the pricing is coming down per minute. Same thing applies to all the hubbers or the wholesalers. And then you have the retail ones, right? So no matter what, the revenue, it's either staying sort of put or declining, although the traffic is going up. So the challenge is to make sure that you're actually making some money out of that, that you can really optimize whatever you have. And thirdly, you can perhaps add new services to increase the revenue.
And how do you go about doing that?
So I think that's the aspect where NFV is going to really play a very important role. We believe that you will see this advent of virtual POPs, which means that the interconnect carriers will try to reduce their costs, and the costs are massive if you think about, the hubbing environment that you need includes real estates and cables and everything else. So providing them with a much easier way to do the same with a much lower cost, it's going to benefit them quite a bit.
Okay. Now, what about, you have product, obviously, and you have something called VSBC, V Session Border Control, V standing for virtual, presumably.
Victor, we call him.
Well, why not? Victor Frankenstein, Victor SBC. What feedback are you getting from your customers about that? What do they make of it?
Oh, I think they love it. I mean, we have, I'm sorry I can't give you all the names, but we have had quite extraordinary a year last year in terms of tier 1 carriers fully buying into the whole virtual SBC. And I think the thing with the SBC, it's one of those functions that it's very easy to see virtualized. You have others that maybe, it will take a while or the technology is not there anymore or not yet there. But SBCs are very easy to see in a virtual environment, although they have some challenges.
Operators, tier 1s, tier 2s, but specifically the tier 1s, seem to have taken to NFV remarkably quickly and adroitly, given the fact that it's a new technology, has been around only a very short time. And traditionally, tier 1 carriers are, shall we say, somewhat sluggish in their response to things. So what's different this time around? Is it because they're driving the whole thing?
I think there are several aspects. So one of the things is that I believe that more and more you see the IT world coming into the telco world. And the IT world is very, very familiar as well as very comfortable with virtualization. Therefore, this is not quite a big step. It is a huge step for the telco environment, but within the environment we are living now where the barriers are sort of coming down between the two worlds, I think it just makes a lot of sense. And I do agree it's the fastest thing happening in telco industry for the last, 20 years.
Has this sudden acceptance and uptake, and we're seeing real-world deployments now as we speak, has it thrown up any particular challenges and problems that the carriers weren't aware of or that you weren't aware of at Metaswitch?
Well, you have the normal growing up pain, I guess, or pains, and we have actually learned quite a bit doing the deployments, whether, lab deployments. We do have, we announced at least 4 live, commercial deployments with a few more to come, tier 1 included, and you have things like performance that you have to be looking very seriously at in the virtual environment. You have things like orchestration and how you manage the life cycle, the elasticity, all that, but we are learning together.
Of course, in the background of all this, nothing is new. I mean, there are some OTT players out there who are moderately new to the game, but there are very few greenfield sites out there that can just say, I'm deploying NFV from the start and that's the end to it. So we're going to have this interim period, probably of a decade or more, in which the physical network will run alongside a virtualized network. What does that mean for you? Well, what does it mean for the tier 1 operators, and what does it mean as an opportunity for Metaswitch?
I think it's an opportunity for the operators, to be honest, because I'll give you an example. This is a publicly announced customer we have, Tiscali in Italy. Tiscali in Italy, great example, great, they have their own network, but they decided to go outside of their geographical presence. So therefore, they utilize, virtual functions to go outside their, region and offer sort of an OTT type of service. And this is a great example of what the traditional carriers can do and become themselves, in fact, an over-the-top provider.
What about OSS? Underpinning all this is operational support systems. How do NFV and SDN fit into the existing OSS domain, and how are they affecting it and changing it?
That's a loaded question. So obviously the OSS, it's going to be a challenge, and it's going to be interesting to see who is going to win, because it is a massive undertake on the operator to actually trust one vendor to provide that. So I will see probably more and more, I think I'll see more and more carriers like AT&T doing their own. So maybe they will have sort of their own global orchestrator, utilizing several orchestrators underneath. So I see that being a combination of, homegrown, carrier-owned OSS, and then based on feeding from the different OSSs that other vendors provide.
Of course, NFV is predicated on openness, whatever that openness may mean. It means different things to different people, obviously. But it also, so the openness is having an impact, and so is presumably standards. Do you find there's a dichotomy between the two?
No, not at all. I think it's actually, if you look at the IP world, it's a wonderful world,
So Louis Armstrong said.
So I used to work, it's the same thing. I mean, anything that it's open, it's standard, and plugs and play, and this is what we have, it's going to be, a great thing for us. The whole idea is to make sure we don't sort of fall into the old ways in which, like, let me do an extension here to the standard that it's just working for me, and let enhance this little thing here. So hopefully,
well, of course, the operators are dead set against that because they don't want lock-in anymore.
Exactly.
Presumably, if anybody tries to do that, it'll be a big backlash.
Hopefully not. Yeah, hopefully it's not going to happen.
A final question to you, Micaela, which is about wireless, really, and mobile. Again, how does NFV play into that, do you think? When people are talking about 2020 and 5G, the massive amount of bandwidth is going to be needed for that, and of course all the personalised services which will come as part and parcel of that. Are you involved in that, and you see how things are going?
Oh, absolutely. And what's happening, we are expecting a huge increase in, for instance, in sessions for session border controllers due to the VoLTE deployments and increasing usage. How NFV plays into this, I think it's another great example of the ability for NFV to scale where you need it, as opposed to just put massive amounts of equipment in everywhere and we'll figure it out whether you have traffic here versus the other place. But we had heard some examples. If you have a stadium full of people, you'll have NFV popping up, and then the stadium empties out, and the NFV
pops down.
Exactly. So it's a great, they will help tremendously.
And that is being thought about and being considered and being engineered even as we speak.
I think so, yes. I think this is part and parcel of what NFV brings to the table for the carriers.
Good stuff. Micaela Guihat, thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.